throughout the game, it's been a defensive masterclass by OKC in the second half. I don't know if you've been on Twitter. Matt and I were on there at halftime talking on the space we just created, and Matt asked me what I was expecting for the Thunder to do in the second half, and basically what I thought about was OKC has to ramp up defensively because they really let the Celtics do whatever they wanted. Like Porzingis got whatever he wanted because OKC was a bit too indecisive. Then Celtics got a couple of their open threes, but mostly really it was just Porzingis and Jaylen Brown getting inside the arc and finishing whatever they wanted in post-ups. That was quite rough to watch. But then OKC basically started with double teaming, being more aggressive, started blitzing, all that stuff, with rotations precisely being run. Like they were always sprinting out to closeouts. They ran the Celtics off the three-point line and had an incredible rim protection with Shai and Hartenstein both underneath. They were incredible in that second half, honestly. Like they stopped so many easy twos for the Celtics, and it made them or made the game feel more uncertain for the Celtics as time went on. Just an incredible effort defensively, man.
Yeah, it was a spectacle. And the Thunder were down 12, I think the largest lead was in the third quarter. Kind of one of the bigger stories of the game was kind of the Thunder holding the Boston Celtics. They scored 65 points in the first half, which is kind of on par with Celtics basketball. And like we said, they finished with 92. So they scored, was that 27 points? Like that's just unheard of. You're basically scoring what they usually score. It's actually what they scored. It's less than they scored in either quarter in the first half throughout the entire half. It's just like insane defense. One of the stories you could say was the 3-point percentage. They shot 19.6% from three, 36.5% from the field. And this is one of the most killer offenses in the entire league. I will give the Thunder a lot of credit, but I do think there were a lot of shots that the Celtics could have hit. And they have been known, like they literally set they matched the all-time record for threes in their first game when guns blazing against the New York Knicks. So I'm not surprised, but like when the diets, all those shots, it's very difficult. But everything else was like, this was like tooth and nail, like for basically the majority of the game. The Thunder have this snowball effect. Every time you play them, basically a play goes their way. It's a little snowball, and it just gradually grows and grows and grows. Let's get something out of the way. Can we talk about the officiating, Alex? I know it's like this is not something we actually want to talk about on the podcast generally, but like this was not a good show.
Yeah, sure. We can talk a little bit about that. I mean, really, honestly, right now it doesn't even matter as much. But like Scott Foster was, it was rough. It was overall a rough game. The first three quarters for OKC, like the Celtics got. It felt like the Celtics got every call. Which obviously, if you're the Celtics fan, it's obviously good for you. But yeah, you know, like for Thunder fans, it was quite rough to watch. But I mean, nonetheless, like free throws as well were a big reason why the Celtics had the lead against OKC even up in the third quarter. You know, but then again, like once OKC started to shift momentum, it felt like there were calls that the refs made where I was like, is that really like advantage for the Celtics, or is it more like a simple play? Like I didn't get an example, that 50-50 ball where Tatum pushed away Jade up to go for that ball. That was one. Obviously, you had the foul call on Lou on Tatum. That obviously was a foul call because Lou had his foot in the landing space. But I mean, other than that, really it felt like every other decision that the refs made was like one against OKC.
See, I love that statement because I saw a lot of things of Celtic fans still not being happy with the river fishing. I think on both sides it was pretty poor, and just a lot of just not a lot of clarity, not a lot of consistency, and like we know, like a guy like Lugansdor is not a guy that usually gets a technical, like especially on like arguing like who touched it last. It's not like a foul call. It's not like, oh no, I was set. It's like something that I don't want to say subjective because subjective is quite hard to be for like official for rules, but like that's one of those things that's kind of up in the air. And to get a tech on that is, I think, a bit soft. But you just want consistency. You just want a smooth game, and there was a lot of physicality that was allowed and wasn't allowed. And what I saw was I found hilarious as I was keeping up with the game on X was Kenny Beecham. He was tweeting out how he had to switch from the Thunder broadcast because Michael Cage was Michael Cage is like the guy. We love Michael Cage. He was like complaining about the refs too much, and then switched on to the Boston Celtics broadcast, and then had to mute all the broadcasts because they were both so horrendously like upset with the officiating.
Yeah, I get it though. But I mean, at the end of the day, if both fan bases or basically both teams are unhappy with the refs, then the ref definitely did something wrong overall in this game, in my opinion. Like you can't have both teams feel like they lost because of officiating. It really shows that it feels like there have been rules overlooked or so, or at least it feels like it for both teams.
Yeah. I can actually quote our podcast co-host who isn't here, who put up games that Scott Foster officiate have both teams, both fan bases, and both coaches yet annoyed, yet the NBA will still choose to use him in primetime games. It's just, I say primetime for like a noon tip-off is kind of crazy, but I'm just so thankful. Like, we might as well talk about Thunder. Like, what more does this team need to do? You know what I mean? Like, you have a 15-game winning streak. You beat the defending champions. This is basically as good or as like high of a peak as you could probably have in the regular season. And I want people to prepare for that. This is probably the peak that they get to. Even if they get to close to 65, maybe 70 wins, a 15-game winning streak after defeating the defending champions is like nicotine. It's like nectar. It is euphoria. Like, how can you expect anything more than this? But it's really interesting how they changed, and just to see the Thunder go back to their bread and butter in that kind of turnover battle, because they didn't force any fast break points in the entire first half. But all of a sudden, there's breakaways, there's open dunks, and this game was actually significantly messy. Alex, I don't know if you saw the turnovers at the end, but it was 16-15. And these are like two of the lowest turnover teams, best offenses. Like, this was an ugly basketball game. Like, we can both agree that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like both teams did a couple of mistakes, especially like OKC did some horrendously bad passes. Not calling out anyone because it was distributed by like the heavy usage guys. But one thing I definitely will never like is Lou Dort driving. I'm just saying it now because what I'm about to say next about him is only that he's going to be great. But we always have to keep in mind that Lou Dort is not the best decision maker with the ball in his hands when driving downhill. But with that out of the way, Lou Dort is a big game merchant. Like he loves the spotlight. Like you can't tell me otherwise. Like no one is as good in a big game as Lou Dort. Like when he's there, like he's able to clamp up guys. He's able to knock down his threes. And when he's that, he's incredible, man. Like he's definitely a big reason why the Thunder won this game. Just hitting 3 big threes in this fourth quarter to put the Thunder more and more ahead, and drilled the last 3 as well. Like he's just an incredible player overall. But yeah.
Yeah. That fourth quarter, like Alex was hating on him the whole game. He shot 100% from the field in the fourth, had the big kind of trail 3 in the left wing. Then they found him spotted up in the corner, and then just one more, just because why not? You know, you got to shoot. The shot clock's going to run out anyway. You might as well make it 3 in a row. And it's just beautiful to see. Like, I agree, and I remember speaking to Alex about not enjoying when certain players were used in handoff actions. But I thought Casey Wallace was really aggressive as a driver. I still think J-Dub needs to be a bigger rim threat. I don't think his defense showed out as much as it usually did. I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown were able to take that matchup pretty solid. I think they had a pretty good night. But like, this is still a very good Boston Celtics team, and I would love to see them. Like we can agree objectively, this would be an amazing finals matchup. Like, this was definitely pure cinema.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from an OKC perspective, it was absolute cinema. I agree. It probably would have been nicer if it would have been like a bit closer to the end, but like OKC just pulled away because, like you said, they have this snowball effect. Like one good thing happens and it collides into multiple good things happening to them, you know? And like that's probably one of the reasons why OKC are favorites to actually win the championship this year, because they really have that momentum going. You've seen that against the Knicks, but you've also seen that in any other given game this season. Like their offense starts with good defense, or not even good defense, it's great defense. It's historically great defense what the Thunder are playing. And obviously they still don't have Chet Holmgren back. And as someone who was a big advocate for double big lineups against the Mavs last year in the playoffs, I'm very intrigued to seeing how Chet and Hartenstein are going to play in the future. But that's probably still like a month away.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some of that in the preseason. I remember them running like a 2 double 7-footer dribble handoff, which is crazy. All right, let's take this from perspective of the Celtics. Yeah, I think you're 6 and 6 in the last 12, if my memory serves me right. Like, do you come away with this and think, right, guys, we got a problem. We got to find shooters. You know, we didn't turn up for the big game. They really killed OKC with their double big lineup. Basically, they were using Luke Cornett. We were talking about how the Thunder needed to kill. This is my words. They needed to kill those matchups. Like, if Luke Cornett is guarding like a guy like Aaron Wiggins or Casey Wallace, that needs to be an immediate drive, or even Kenrich Williams, just to be able to take them off the dribble. Alex, do you have any other spotlights you want to put on this game in particular before we move on to some more rounded NBA topics?
Sure. Yeah, overall for the Celtics, like you said, the double big lineup was incredible. Jaylen Brown was great as well, especially in the first half. Like the Thunder had pretty big struggles with the physicality in that first half, especially since they really sent out Hartenstein up to the perimeter, try to guard the 3-point line. That's probably where most of the problems came from, but the Celtics did that much smarter in the first half, like allowing Porzingis to stay low most of the time, and when that wasn't possible, they started bringing in Al Horford or Luke Cornett, basically, to always have a big underneath the rim. So that absolutely helped the Celtics. Like their rim protection was on point in that first half. Overall, I think overall this game, the Celtics played pretty good defense, especially on the rim. And as a team that's very switch heavy as the Celtics, they're going to be a tough matchup to beat, obviously. But yeah, nonetheless, one player I was pretty disappointed in during this game from the Celtics side was Drew Holiday. And I mean, yes, he's an incredible defender, but like against Shai, he couldn't do anything. And not only him, but like Jadab as well. Where he had that one spin move to get an open driving lane, but like mostly Shai could do anything with him. Like you had that one sequence in the first half where Shai was getting where Porzingis switched onto Shai, but then recovered back to Hartenstein and Drew was back on him. And Shai didn't bother. He just went into the step back and drilled it. And I mean, that's obviously tough shot making. Like that's a shot that you want as the Celtics and Drew Holiday, but nonetheless, Drew couldn't do anything against Shai, which is a little bit sad. But then again, Shai had a couple of bad turnovers as well, but a couple of bad passes. Got stripped once or twice, so it's not like the Celtics couldn't do anything against Shai.
Yeah,
but that wasn't because of Drew.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, it is interesting to see his mobility kind of shift down just a bit. One guy I do want to shout out is Derek White. I think he played incredible in this game. He actually took the most threes for the Celtics. He shot 11 and he only made 2. But the stuff that he does, like he's kind of just a loose ball magnet, and like he doesn't come away with a lot of fouls, which is like the craziest thing for how many steals and blocks he gets. Like he's active constantly. He came away with 3 blocks, 1 steal, 4 assists. Like that might say something, and they're like, oh, that's pretty. This guy was incredible in this game. Like he was everywhere. Like that place you don't want to be, that ball no one else wanted to get, that rebounds, that high IQ, good decision making, just made everything difficult. Like any pass that was a couple seconds late, it was his. So I just wanted to give my love for Derek White because he's also been carrying my fantasy team.
Obviously, only because of that. It was so obvious, man. You're so easy to read.
10-0. 10-0, baby.
Yeah. At the end of the day, the playoffs are what's counting, man. I don't care about regular season. But anyways, I definitely also think Derek White was arguably the best defender for the Celtics today. Like he was everywhere on the court. Like he had that energy, especially in the first half as well. Kudo, whatever you wanted, and definitely was the best Celtic starter.
Yep. I mean, Jaylen Brown had 21 points in the half, and ended up
but then didn't do
with
anything.
21 points, which is crazy. Like, imagine being on your half the way to 40 and just being like, nah, I ain't gonna play no more.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, like peak-wise, probably Jaylen Brown was the best Celtics player, but like consistency-wise, I think definitely Derek White was the best one. And I'm always pro consistency.
Right. We need to talk about the play. Do you know which play I'm talking about, Alex?
Yeah, I know which play you're talking about. Oh, block Shai into the lob. Yeah.
Mike Breeden new call out. So Thunder are behind on a fast break. Tatum has a wide open layup. What is it but your friendly neighborhood MVP candidate comes around, turns into Canadian LeBron James, and just erases it. Grabs his own ball. I thought he was going to go for a big like entree, throws the lob to Hartenstein for the and one dunk. Beautiful basketball. That's all I can say. I love transition. Transition is like my favorite part of basketball.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. Transition can be so good if you remastered it. It's one of the most beautiful things in basketball, honestly.
Yep. Especially now it turns into like shooting threes in transition.